The NFL draft is tomorrow, and I feel like I need to re-rank the rookie wide receivers before we get into the NFL draft because some ideas sparked in my head, re-going over these profiles, watching some tape, pontificating on how I should be doing the tiers in the rankings. So I made some changes. And now we're going to rank these wide receivers with these changes. I haven't made the ranks yet. I've been just thinking about these wide receivers nonstop. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're going hot and heavy on these rookie drafts during the draft. During the draft, I'm just going to have reaction videos going up often on the channel. After the pick, reaction video. Big time pick, reaction video. During the day, ranking the players. That way, on Sunday, when you do your drafts, you got rankings. Probably going to be one of the fastest rankings on the internet for Dynasty outside of randos on Twitter, but they will be here. Just fast forward, get to what you need to get, but we'll be doing tiers on these wide receivers, overall players, the running backs, so you're good to go with your players. And that's going to happen after every night. After Thursday night, we'll rank them. After Friday night, we'll rank them. We'll do multiple rankings overall and positional values. But enough of me talking. Let's start ranking these wide receivers. Let's get through this a little quicker, considering we've done this a good bit now. But I got things different here on the tier maker. And you're going to notice under tier B, round 2 running backs. The reason why I have that for round 2 running backs is that there is a bubble or a run of running backs in round 2. And the value of these wide receivers is really predicated of those running backs, of that run. Doesn't matter who's those running backs, where they go, landing spot. There's going to be a run of running backs in round 2 unless this running back position really collapses in the draft, which could happen. But we're forecasting that. And players who are on that bubble there, we got to put them below those running backs because that is a pivotal spot of the draft, and we got to account for that. We got to account for that. That should be in our player values. That being said, let's start looking at these wide receivers, and we got a hot one right now. Keon Coleman. Big time wide receiver prospect due to his size and ball skills. But when I think about Keon Coleman, I'm not too in love with him due to the separation. But I could be in love with him here in like 48 hours or so due to the landing spot because I think he will get draft capital due to his skill set. But right now, and considering the market and everything together, I think he needs to go behind that run of running backs in the middle of the second round. I have him valued there. That's where he should be at. I don't have him as a tier A, S tier, B tier. That's where he should be at. Like if I'm drafting him, he's behind them. He is behind them. I'm slamming those running backs. It's not tit for tat wide receiver for wide receiver. We're talking Dynasty Fantasy Football. That's where he should be at. That's where he should be at unless he gets Kansas City Chief privilege, Miami Dolphin privilege, or something like that. We're moving on. Malik Neighbors, let's get him out of the way. Stud. Marvin Harrison Jr., stud. They're generational talents. The NFL draft's going to say that about them. Stud players, stud wide receivers. We didn't really have stud wide receivers in last year's draft. They were tier A guys. They're good tier A guys with good profiles. They fell in the draft a little bit. Jordan Addison was pretty safe, but these are studs. These are guys that you don't think twice about. You don't argue too much about. You just roll with because these are pristine prospect profiles. The odds are very good. Rome Odunze's coming up here. This is his own tier. This is his own tier. That is his own tier. Nobody else is going in it because I don't want to confuse anybody. When we look at tier S, those are generational prospects. Those are prospects. When you look at the realm of possibilities, odds aren't really good, but odds are really there that they could be Hall of Fame players. They could be cornerstone players in the league. That's what we're looking at. Rome Odunze has that in his prospect profile, but it's a little bit lighter. In any other draft class, he's the top wide receiver. He's the top dog. He's the guy you're drafting. I'm drafting a lot of Rome Odunze. He's a top wide receiver. In any other class, he's up here. In any other class, you may even call him a stud compared to the other wide receivers. That's where he belongs. Troy Franklin. Got to talk about him. I think his situation is going to be a big deal. I think that's going to impact his draft stock in Dynasty. But he's a tier B guy for me. I love his nuanceness in the route running. Very cerebral. Can get the job done for me. Now it's Ladd McConkey coming out. When I think about him, he is very, very dependent on landing spot. And when I think about these running backs and where he goes in the rookie drafts, if he gets a pristine situation, cool. We're looking at him. We're looking at him. But when I think about these running backs going in this range, I'm probably drafting him behind there. Unless he catches first round draft capital, early second round draft capital with a good quarterback. That's it. That's it. That's what will move him up for me. That's what will move him up for me. Roman Wilson, same damn thing. Same damn thing. I'm not bumping him up to the first round of rookie drafts or even early second round unless he catches a good spot, good draft capital. So he's going behind those second round running backs. That tier, that little spillage of running backs going in the middle of the second round. Brendan Rice is one of my guys. He's one of my guys. For sure, he's going behind there. He's one of my guys. I do not have that my guy tier anymore. It just doesn't make sense to me. He's a flyer I like. You're drafting him in the third round. He's not going much higher unless he goes into a supreme situation. But he is a flyer I like. Like, I'm trying to draft Brendan Rice. It's not about the rankings. It's about the context and words when you're doing tiers. Because the tiers tell a story and how you're valuing players and how you're pivoting off of players in your leagues. So, I may value him more than these guys, but I'm also trading down to get him. That's the thing about this. And also, situation's going to be mattering a lot with these wide receivers. And I also think a lot of these wide receivers are going to bust on us. A lot of these wide receivers are going to bust on us. A lot of these wide receivers with profiles we like, they're not going to hit on this. And some of these wide receivers who are not thinking about too much that we may kind of like, they may exceed expectations. That's that type of draft class. We got too many good wide receivers where the puddle is muddied up. Xavier Worthy, I'm pushing him here to tier B. Size is a question, but we got that 4.2 speed. We got a good production profile. NFL's going to say, hey, we like him. They're going to say that. They're definitely going to say that. They're going to say, hey, we like him. I'm definitely drafting him ahead of those running backs. Malachi Corley. This is awful a lot like C tier, but it's categorized different. Right there, right behind the running backs. Right there, maybe more as a flyer. He can move up to really here. I don't know if I'm really pounding that button in the second round for him. When I think about everything together, I like Brendan Rice a little bit more, but I think Corley overall is going to be in a better situation. I think he's got a lot of upside. I think he can work his way here. I think he can be more productive than these guys, and I think there's a good chance he lands in a spot for that. I also think he could be in a spot where he's just a flyer, but I'm going to put him there. Xavier Legette, same thing. Same thing. We got tremendous upside right behind the running backs. Right behind the running backs. I'm moving Brendan Rice right over here. I like him too much. He's one of my guys. Why not? Right behind the running backs in that tier, unless something crazy happens. Jalen Polk, he's a flyer. He's got upside due to his downfield capabilities. The draft's going to tell us what to do with him. I'm waiting on that. Brian Thomas, big-time wide receiver, wicked release package, can get downfield. I think he's kind of volatile when you look at the production profile. But also he's going into a part of the first round where he could land with an amazing team, an amazing situation. I could move him up to the Rome Odunze territory, but I'm going to keep him in tier B. I had him up there in tier A before, but I want to be a little safer. I do want to forecast in the volatility, the potential of the downside there, because it is there. I just like him too much, and I don't want to vault him up too much. Jacob Cowing, He's a flyer I like. I know the draft capital is probably not going to be there, but I love the production profile. A.D. Mitchell, I like him. I think he's going to go in a spot of the draft late in the first round where he can go to a great team. I like the speed. I like the route running. I like the glimpses we saw at Georgia. I like him as a prospect. Tez Walker, I like his downfield capabilities. He's a good flyer. He's a flyer I like. He might end up on a depth chart where he's buried a little bit, but the fact is he could be a volatile play for fantasy football. Ricky Pearsall, he's a player I like, but the thing is the market jumped the shark with him a little bit. That's the thing about that. If he goes to an off situation, I'm going to be a little tepid with him, but the market is kind of overvaluing him a little bit. Like, too many people like him. Big Drive likes him too much. The production profile isn't pristine. I am drafting him behind the running backs. But Javon Baker's also my guy. And he is a player that if he goes, say, third round, say that's not a great round for a wide receiver, but if he goes in an okay situation, I'm pumping him up. He's a pump up. If he goes in a second round, situation's okay. I have him skill-wise around here. Skill-wise around here, I like him more than a lot of these guys. Realistically, I'm drafting him ahead of these running backs. I'm moving him up to like around there. I'm moving him up. I'm watching him close. Like, he needs his own tier. He needs his own tier because I'm very fluid with him. The fluid's on the top end. The fluidity, more than likely, is going to stabilize around here. The down end's less likely. Putting him here. I like him a lot. Javon Baker is my guy of guys. He's my guy of guys. I'm watching Malik Washington hardcore. He's got a skill set that could really usurp a lot of guys in this draft. Definitely can. I'm watching him hard. I'm watching him very hard. He's a flyer that I like. Cornelius Johnson is a flyer I don't like. I do not like the release package. I don't like his downfield capabilities. Jamari Thrash, though, he's a guy that I like a lot. I like the speed. I like the burst. I like him after the catch. Guy I'm looking at. McMillan is a flyer I like. Maybe a little bit more than a flyer. Very good route runner. He's got some outside due to that. Johnny Wilson. I'm watching him hard. He could be just a flyer once everything's said and done, but I like him too much. I like the skill set. I like the length. I like the capability of being moved to tight end, and I love that for fantasy football. Jermaine Burton. Burton is a flyer that I like a lot. I like him a lot. I'm going to try and get him in a lot of leagues. I like his downfield capabilities. I like his release package. Taj Washington, I don't really like him too much, but he's there. He's going to be a late round pick. Probably going to be a pickup after your draft and rookie drafts. Nia Smith just needs to go in a good situation. He could be a jigsaw piece, but honestly, he's just a flyer. Luke McCaffrey, I know Jim Nagy loves him from the Senior Bowl, but really he's just a raw flyer right now. Really needs to get higher draft capital than expected and then go into a situation that's grand for him. Anthony Gold, right here. He's a flyer right now. MRJ right now for Dynasty Rookie Drafts, he's a flyer in the latter part. If he's there, if you want to select him or you let him slide and pick him up. Isaiah Williams, same thing. Bud Means, same thing. Cephas. He's like a flyer I like. I like the production pro. I think he's sneaky. I think he could be a sneaky get. A guy to pay attention to. But that's the ranks. I think a lot of these wide receivers were drafting below that run of running backs unless they hit in the draft in a grand situation. And we're going to be redoing these rankings here in the next couple days. So you may think I was wasting my time considering I just ranked these wide receivers on Sunday, but I felt like I had to do it today. I felt like I had to have that context of the running backs. That clog of running backs in the second round is a pivotal point there. And that is very important of how we should value these wide receivers. And if there's a wide receiver around that range that you like, buoy them up a little bit, but be open-minded. Not all these wide receivers are going to hit. We got a lot of good profiles here, but not all these wide receivers are going to hit. They're not. And some of these wide receivers that we're just kind of paying attention to, They're going to exceed expectations. That's life. That's with wide receivers. Wide receivers is a different breed right now because we're catching so many good wide receivers. I'm seeing it at the high school level. I'm seeing that a lot. We're seeing linebackers who go out into the slot. They're selling routes, creating separation. We're seeing 230-pound linebackers create separation who can sell routes part-time. We're seeing that. That's how deep the pool is going to get. That's what the wide receiver is going to look like going forward for Dynasty Fantasy Football. That's what it's going to look like. That's the future. That's the future. We're seeing it at the high school level right now. I'm seeing more high school wide receivers being able to run routes, create separation, more fine-tuned on the route running than ever before. From top to bottom, I've covered 55 wide receivers from the 2024 wide receiver class. 90% of them, good route runners. 90% of them sell routes, create separation. The other ones, maybe because they're bigger. These are good wide receivers coming out year after year after year. Look at Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith, balling out. They're transitioning from Marvin Harrison Jr. to Jeremiah Smith. Like that. That should be like a 10-year thing. That should be a 10-year, a transition that should really rarely ever happen. It's happening. It's happening. They got Mika Buka there. This is a grand time to love wide receivers. If you're a wide receiver lover like I am, this is a great time. But the pool is going to be deep at the wide receiver spot. And it's going to get deeper going forward. And you have to be objective and open-minded at the wide receiver spot with production profiles, with what you see on tape. And you're going to get a lot wrong going forward too. I'm going to get a lot wrong too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know that was a rant, but I had to let it out. Hit that subscribe button now because you're going to miss out during draft time. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.